My name is Natalie Rockwell, and I'm 30 years old. I'm a licensed psychologist and primarily worked as an online counselor from home. My husband, Andrew Muka, is also 30. He works for a rather large pharmaceutical company. Andrew and I met through work and have been married for 4 years. 2 years ago, Andrew pleaded with me to remodel his childhood home so that we could live there with his mother, Hannah. He had been quite the mama's boy, insisting on living with her since she'd been down since losing her husband 4 years ago. Ignoring my wishes, Andrew started the remodeling. Living with Hannah wasn't easy, and I endured her mistreatment. During these tough times, I discovered that Andrew had a mistress. And she was pregnant. I had no choice but to initiate a divorce. With the revelation of my husband's mistress's pregnancy, I decided to leave the house. I laid out my condition: I'm taking everything I bought with me, is that okay? I laid out my condition. I'm taking everything I bought with me, is that okay? Sure, take it all. I don't want your used stuff anyway. So, I did just that, taking all the furniture and appliances I had purchased. When the moving preparations were done, Andrew and Hannah came to see. They were met with a completely empty space. The amount I had spent on those items was far beyond what Andrew, who was just a downhill employee at his company, could afford. If you're upset, buy your own stuff with your own money. It's hard to believe that in just 4 years, our marriage had come to this. I want to unravel this story. Thanks for your hard work, Mr. Muka. I used to say to Andrew when he delivered medicine to the psychiatric clinic where I worked. Oh, it's no big deal, it's my job. Isn't it hard to travel by car in this heat wave? Is the inside of the car air-conditioned? I always asked about his day and his car. I wanted to make small talk with him. My old car barely runs when the AC is on. We enjoyed these light conversations until I heard he was being reassigned. I realized I wouldn't see Andrew much anymore. I boldly asked, "How about a get-together to unwind, Mr. Muka?" That courage eventually led to our marriage. Andrew was an employee at a major pharmaceutical company. Delivery of medicine to hospitals, including the one where I worked as a counselor. The number of people seeking counseling has been increasing, a worrying sign of the times. Shoot, maybe this isn't the right time to say this. I know it's not the best moment, but I can't hold it in any longer. Natalie, will you marry me? What? Are you okay? This isn't the kind of thing you say right after your dad passes away. I'm not expecting a fairy tale proposal, but really? Now? Andrew was deeply shocked by his father's death. And understandably so. His dad, a carpenter, had slipped and fallen to his death at a construction site. It was so sudden. I regret not being able to show my dad a grandchild. He loved kids. I don't want to leave my mom with that regret, so I want to marry you, Natalie, and start our own family. It was a proposal born out of grief, but I was genuinely happy. However, this also marked the beginning of a difficult time, enduring the constant nagging from my mother-in-law, Hannah. Yes, I'm coming in. Why are the curtains closed on such a sunny day? Hannah frequently barged into the apartment Andrew and I rented, just a 10-minute walk from his childhood home. I understood she was lonely, but her daily dinner visits were becoming a problem for me, especially when it came to planning meals. And Natalie, you said you work from home or something, but you can't make much with home-based jobs, right? Maybe like a couple $100 a month? Instead of that, why don't you cook more dishes for dinner? Andy comes home tired every day. Hannah always called Andrew Andy. Consequently, his relatives and neighbors did too. Hannah, what I do is a bit different from home-based jobs. You might have heard about it. Nowadays, we can have meetings and classes online. Ever heard of Zoom or online sessions? You're making fun of me again. Natalie, you're almost 30, you two aren't young now. Hannah never understood that I was working as an online counselor. She stubbornly refused to acknowledge anything beyond her knowledge. And wouldn't try to understand new things. I chose to work from home so I wouldn't neglect my household duties. Instead of that, why don't you hurry up and have a baby? That's your role, after all. Listening to people's problems is something even I could do. Stop acting like you're someone important. Hey, I'm home. When Andrew arrived, Hannah rushed to greet him at the door. He had lived with his parents until we got married, and now with his father gone, Hannah must have felt lonely. I understood that, but her frequent visits were honestly a bother. Today, I made Andy's favorite mashed potato with Natalie. Don't worry, I've taught her how to make our special gravy sauce. Natalie thought it was okay to just buy brown sauce. Hey, Natalie, you should really learn how to cook properly from Mom. When we first got married, she used to put sauce on fried eggs. It's supposed to be homemade tomato ketchup, right? I gotta get her to fix her taste buds, or I won't have a decent meal. Speaking of which, Andy, you've lost weight since getting married, haven't you? I wanted to shout that's not true. Andrew had recently been putting on weight and was warned about his cholesterol levels at a company health checkup. So, I was careful with calories and carbs while cooking. I think helped him lose weight healthily. We lived this life for 2 years until one day Andrew dropped a bombshell. I'm thinking of remodeling my childhood home. It's pretty old, the plumbing's terrible, it's hot in summer, cold in winter, and the layout's inconvenient even though it's not in the countryside. It's a good opportunity to remodel it and live there. What? Was I hearing this right? Was he suggesting we live with his mother? It's silly to pay rent for a place just 10 minutes from my childhood home. If we remodel it, it'll be comfortable for everyone, right? We've talked about owning our own home someday. And if we have kids, they'll need their own room, and living with Mom means she can help out. Where's the money gonna come from for such a big renovation? It's gonna cost a lot to remodel the entire family home, right? Andrew, you're gonna keep paying the loan, correct? There's some inheritance left by my dad, so I'll use that for the down payment. The monthly loan payments will be within my budget. Probably until I'm 65. Is that really okay? Ever since marrying me, I've been surprised at how low Andrew's salary is. I was making much more when I was counseling at the psychiatric clinic. We'll make it work. Okay then, that's fine. If that's the case, I have one condition. I need a workspace for my job. Online counseling? You just need a laptop for that, right? I deal with personal information, so I absolutely need a focused environment. Hannah and Andrew might not understand counseling, but it's a very sensitive job. People come to me desperate to get out of their situations, counting on me as their last hope. I can't do this with a half-hearted attitude. It kind of sounds like fortune-telling, doesn't it? Counseling and fortune-telling are completely different. Okay, I get it. I'll talk to the architect. And so, Andrew's childhood home was remodeled and transformed. A few weeks before the renovation was complete, Andrew suddenly remembered something. Hey, we'll need new furniture and appliances suitable for the new house. I'll leave that to Natalie, who has great taste. What? That's not fair. That's like a last-minute surprise. I wasn't told about this. He must have planned from the beginning to have me cover the cost of furniture and appliances. His afterthought manner made me want to exclaim, "Can't you act more skillful?" The Muka family has poured everything we have into this renovation. Natalie, you're going to live here for a long time too, so it wouldn't hurt to share the burden. To be honest, you earn way more than me. I guess there's a sense of inferiority and embarrassment for a husband to earn less than his wife. The house is nearly complete, so I can't really say no. If I look at it positively, I can choose the furniture and appliances to my liking. So, the new house was completed. What a stark-looking house. I went for a black and white theme. Simple and nice, I thought. Anyway, it'll probably be filled with Hannah's stuff soon. Hannah struggles with tidying up and can't seem to throw anything away. One wrong step, and this place could turn into a hoarder's house. Natalie and I just don't see eye to eye. I would have preferred a warmer, wood-centric design. This is just not comfortable. You'll get used to it as you live here. Is dinner ready yet? Andy's been coming home early lately. If dinner's not ready by 7, we won't make it. You're just leisurely looking at your computer. After making us set up a whole office for you, who do you think you are? If I don't work, this house would fall apart. I wish I could just say that and clear the air. Hannah doesn't know that Andrew's salary isn't coming in. He's been making excuses, saying it's just delayed, but I think something's definitely wrong. I'm just too scared to ask. Hey, Natalie, maybe you should see a doctor. What's she talking about? Because it's been 4 years since you got married and still no kids. That's odd. I've got a referral to a fertility specialist. A friend of mine started treatment and ended up having twins. She was so happy. Maybe you should get checked out too? In that case, shouldn't Andrew get tested too? Infertility isn't just a women's issue, there's male infertility as well. You always have a comeback. Natalie, you should learn to be more modest and considerate. Listening to people's problems with that attitude is nothing but a fraud. Don't be surprised if you get sued someday. This kind of back and forth happens all the time. I wish Hannah would spend her time on hobbies or traveling. Maybe we argue because we're both at home too much. I'm thinking of gifting a trip to Mom, Andrew suddenly said one night after coming out of the shower. She's turning 60, right? She looks young, but she's been having a lot of aches. She went to the doctor recently, didn't she? Yeah, she said her back hurt and went to the orthopedist. She got some patches and was overly dramatic with the bandages. For her 60th birthday, book a restaurant in Chinatown. And buy $2,000 worth of travel vouchers as a gift. Why do I have to do it? She's your mom, not mine. She'd be happier if her beloved son arranged it, not her disliked daughter-in-law. Natalie, you often forget your place as a wife. Just because you earn a bit more, doesn't mean you rule this house. It's Mom's house. Discussions with Andrew always end up being about Hannah. When he's this much of a mama's boy, all I can do is stand by and watch. While planning Hannah's 60th birthday celebration, Hannah returned home in a good mood. She had been out visiting neighbors for tea for about 6 hours. Should I cook dinner today? She seemed to have had a good day. So simple and predictable. Hannah started preparing a pot dish, waiting for Andrew to come home. Andrew, don't be surprised. Mirabelle came back home, Hannah excitedly announced as Andrew walked in. At the dinner table, she started sharing news with Andrew, ignoring the pot dish. So I ended up taking care of it. Mirabelle's back? Has it been 5 or 6 years since she got married? She was only 22 back then. Hasn't she visited since? Well, everyone was against Mirabelle's marriage. She eloped, you know. And now, she's come back with her 3-year-old son, who's just adorable. Mirabelle's a mom? Wow, I can't imagine that. So, why did she come back? Did her parents forgive her? Actually, she got divorced. She must have been desperate to come back to her parents' house. But she was still the same bright and cheerful Mirabelle, looking even more beautiful. So, she's staying at her parents' for a while? I'd like to meet her. I told her to bring her son over tomorrow. Mirabelle wants to meet you, Andrew's wife. Honestly, I thought, what a hassle. I have to be friendly in a house full of strangers' memories and make nice with the neighbors. Mirabelle is my childhood friend from the neighborhood. Andrew explained it to me, at least. The next day, Mirabelle really did come over with her 3-year-old son, Ken. She looked at me intently and smiled meaningfully. Natalie, can you play with Ken for a bit? Hannah and Mirabelle left me to entertain Ken while they chatted away. It was quite a task keeping up with the energetic Ken. He ran around the house, got bored with his toys, and even made graffiti on a brand new white wall, much to his delight. I still can't believe Mirabelle is a mom, especially considering she used to be such a crybaby. Stop it, Andy, you're living in the past. Mirabelle and her son Ken were, of course, having dinner at our place. The meal I had prepared. If you ask me, I'm surprised you got married, Andy. You never seemed interested in marriage, right? So, you must have really fallen for your wife. Well, yeah, part of it was to reassure Mom. I wanted to give her some peace of mind, especially after Dad passed away and we were both feeling down. I thought getting married and maybe having kids would add some joy to the family. Andrew never had talked this much with me, but with Mirabelle, their conversation seemed endless, lasting late into the night. I ended up babysitting Ken. From that day on, Mirabelle started coming over frequently, always leaving Ken with me. And I still have my counseling work to do. I'm sorry, but I can't constantly watch Ken. I have work too. And please, don't let him into my room when I'm working. Running around and yelling, or opening doors unannounced, it's disruptive to my work since it's based on patient confidentiality. Counseling must be profitable, right? I heard you charge over $200 per hour. Sounds like a ripoff to me. I mean, just 5 sessions a day and you're making $1,000. What a business. College graduates really are different. Mirabelle said snidely. She had only just met me, but with Hannah completely on her side, she was already giving me a hard time. Hey, Andy, can we go to the aquarium on your next day off? Ken really wants to go. Sure, Ken's fond of me. Gradually, Andrew started spending more time with Mirabelle and Ken. Initially, the 3 of us would go out together, but recently, he's been leaving Ken with me and going out with Mirabelle. Isn't it like infidelity for a husband to go out so openly with a childhood friend, leaving his wife behind? It's fine if you go out with Mirabelle, but please take Ken with you. I compromised to this extent. You know I work from home, right? Kids running around and shouting or bursting into the room disrupt my work. It's a patient-first job. You always use your job as an excuse. If it's so troublesome, why don't you quit? There's no need to work from home. A home isn't a workplace. If the family is such a nuisance, why not work outside? Really? You're okay with me working outside? You're the one who said you wanted me home all the time, to balance housework and a work-from-home job. I've never slacked on the housework and I'm managing my job well. Enough! Mirabelle wouldn't nag about these little things. She's working hard raising her child, so it's only right we help her. Really, Natalie, you're so narrow-minded and cold. By this time, Mirabelle had practically taken over the Muka household. Simultaneously, Andrew and Mirabelle were rapidly becoming closer. One day, I overheard a conversation between Andrew and Mirabelle. That confirmed they were involved in an affair. Andy, you've always been my hero since we were kids. Even now as adults, you're still my hero. Mirabelle said in a sickly sweet voice that she never used in front of me, leaning on Andrew. Andrew, with his doting expression, even seems unclean to me. You've had it tough, Mirabelle. I can't believe you suffered through domestic violence. It must have been hard. It was. I couldn't rely on my parents, didn't know what to do. Ken was still so young, and if I had been a more independent woman, I could have left and worked. But I don't have an education or any qualifications. I couldn't muster the courage to go on as a single mom. I should have come back earlier, then maybe, Andy, you wouldn't have gotten married. Men always fall for such words. Andrew, no exception, became even more sympathetic and supportive. Andy was my first love. That was the moment Andrew fell for her. Despite having her parents' home nearby, Mirabelle brazenly made herself at home in the Muka household. Mirabelle, you're such a great cook. I've had a change of heart seeing this. After all the half-hearted cooking I've been subjected to, this is a real treat. It's unfair to call my cooking half-hearted. I always try to prepare meals from scratch. Even pie crust and pasta are also handmade using organic flour and butter. But I must say, most of Mirabelle's dishes are high-calorie, looking all brown-colored, and not healthy. Hannah seems determined to compare me with Mirabelle and make sure Mirabelle comes out on top. If only Mirabelle had married Andrew. Finally, Hannah said it. But even if Mirabelle had married Andrew, Hannah would likely have nagged her just as much. She's only nice now because Mirabelle is a childhood friend who's returned home. For Hannah, any wife of Andrew's would never be good enough. Intelligent women like Natalie tend to have trouble having children, I've heard. That's right, she can't have kids. That makes her a failure as a wife, doesn't it? She's always talking about her job, but what she should be focusing on is the home. It's only a matter of time before Andrew gets fed up with her. Then Mirabelle, it's your turn, Hannah, and Mirabelle laughed. Why am I still in this house, being ridiculed like this? It's clear that Andrew and Mirabelle's relationship has Hannah's blessing. I've gathered everyone here today to talk about something important regarding me and Natalie. On this day, Andrew called a meeting with me, Hannah, and Mirabelle. Mirabelle is pregnant. Oh my! That's wonderful, Mirabelle! When's the due date? Which obstetrician are you planning to go to? If it's an obstetrician, you should go to the obstetrics where Andrew was born. Hannah was ecstatic. Natalie, I'm sorry, but that's the situation. Discussing divorce turned out to be surprisingly straightforward. With Mirabelle pregnant, I had no other choice but to consider divorce. Mirabelle, how many months pregnant are you? 3 months. You're quite big for 3 months. The doctor was surprised too. Said it's big for this stage. We even know it's a boy already. Natalie, you're being unsightly. You're just jealous of Mirabelle because you can't have children yourself. In the end, you and Andy just weren't compatible in many ways. This is a good opportunity. If not for this, Andy might never have left you. He's too kind, always worrying about hurting you. Ken is already fond of Andy, calling him Dad. All that's left is for you, Natalie, to step aside. I promptly went to file the divorce, and the next day divorce was finalized. Andrew filed his marriage to Mirabelle. Quick work. I still had belongings in the house, so I stayed in the Muka household until I found a new place. Mirabelle and Hannah seemed triumphant. Just looking at them irritated me. But I managed to keep my anger in check. After all, I am a licensed psychologist and counselor. But I couldn't help wanting to say one last thing. By the way, can you support them on your salary? What are you saying about money? You always look down on me because you earn a little. That's just like you. But you quit your job, right? Or should I say you were fired? Hannah and Mirabelle looked at Andrew with shocked expressions. What's going on, Andy? I quit the job myself, you know. It was a useless company that couldn't recognize my talents. It was basically a toxic work environment, and leaving was the right decision. But you've been just in a bottom-level section for quite a while, right? Stuck in that hellish situation of having nothing to do all day. Just sitting there, but at least getting minimum wage. You were sidelined at work because of a big mistake, right? And you didn't tell me or your mom because you were embarrassed? That's none of your business. Yeah, you're right. We're divorced now, so it's no longer my concern. But you still want to marry Andrew even in this situation, Mirabelle? Mirabelle didn't answer right away. I wondered if she was regretting her decision. From my perspective, Andrew seems pretty unstable mentally. The whole ordeal at his company might have traumatized him. Mirabelle, I hope you can be understanding and supportive of him. He probably won't be able to work for a while. Just a piece of advice from a professional counselor. That's none of your business. You think so too, Mirabelle? Natalie is just trying to bring Andrew down because she's a sore loser. Natalie, if you've got nothing else to say, why don't you just pack your stuff and leave, even if you don't have another place to go yet? Fine, I'll leave. And I'll take everything I bought with me. This led to the situation I mentioned at the beginning. Andrew, Hannah, and Mirabelle were left in an empty room, looking lost. It'll be fine. Just buy new furniture and appliances, right, Andy? Where's the money going to come from for that? Andrew lashed out at Hannah. Natalie's just being extreme, taking everything. That's typical of her, all or nothing. Say whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Just keep playing your happy family. What's that supposed to mean? Are you jealous? It's pathetic to be jealous at 30. Jealous? Not at all. Because, Mirabelle, the baby in your belly isn't Andrew's. What are you talking about? That's delusional. Then why not do a DNA test? That'll clear things up. You and your mom have been completely fooled by Mirabelle's scheme. That baby is from her previous husband. She realized she was pregnant after the divorce but didn't want to go back to her abusive ex. She was looking for someone to be the father when she reconnected with Andrew. Easy to manipulate a naive and trusting guy like Andrew. Andrew and Hannah's expressions changed. Mirabelle remained unfazed. But the timing of the pregnancy adds up. It has to be my child, right? You can always claim it was a premature birth. Men wouldn't know. That's how cunning you were. Mirabelle, you married Andrew the day after our divorce and even adopted Ken. That was your ultimate goal, and you deceived Andrew perfectly. Well, blood relation doesn't matter. Mirabelle isn't condescending like Natalie, she relies on me. For a man, that's not a bad feeling. That's what being the head of the family is all about. Keep defending Mirabelle all you want. Just be prepared for fatherhood. It's not as easy as you think, Andrew. I left the Muka household after living there for 2 years. Andrew, Hannah, and Mirabelle had to rent a weekly apartment temporarily. They planned to buy furniture and appliances. But, sorry. I'm ashamed to say, but I'm struggling with the loan payments for the future. Maybe we should sell the house and use the money to buy a used apartment? Ken is mischievous, and the baby in my belly is a boy too. I don't want a cramped house. And in an apartment, the kids' footsteps might bother the neighbors below. Can't we somehow afford a house? Eventually, they managed to sell the Muka household, but for much less than expected. It wasn't enough to buy a house or even get a loan for a used apartment. So, they moved into a small public housing unit. Andrew, traumatized, struggled to find a new job. Amidst this, Mirabelle gave birth. The small house was filled with noise from Ken running around. And the baby's cries. The Muka household was completely taken over by Mirabelle's family. As for me, I was hired as an advisor for a magazine's advice corner and it was well received. I bought my own apartment and set up a counseling room for face-to-face sessions. Thankfully, I've been booked solid.